I made a decision based on the information that I received from my health team, and I have the obligation to make those decisions on how I'm going to move my city forward. So you may consider this a double standard. I consider the analysis that I made, and I'm comfortable with my decision.
All right, a defiant New York City Mayor Eric Adams doubled down on his decision to lift the private sector vaccine mandate for only professional athletes and entertainers, claiming it's not a double standard, Jen.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds a lot like a double standard to me, Lindsay. Well, here to give his take is the founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, welcome back. We are so glad to have you here tonight. I have to talk about this. When you were running for mayor, you protested with cops, with teachers, with firefighters, with nurses who were fired over the vaccine status. Just yesterday, Mayor Adams said he's not even considering rehiring the fired workers. And we have some great video that I want to play for our viewers because it was almost a year ago that you stood in Manhattan and you burned those masks. And that was incredible. I can't help but think about how different New York City would be now if the city were under your leadership, sir.
Well, thank you. And not only that, I brought in the Tramps, the remaining Tramps, who sang Disco Inferno from Saturday Night Fever. We were raising the roof. We thought it was the no mask equinox because then Mayor de Blasio told us if you get the vaccine, the shot, you can get rid of the mask. But you can't believe these elected officials. They've proven all to be fake, phony, fraudulent fugazis. And Eric Adams, we know what happened. You have the owner of the New York Mets, who should be in jail, I might add, for inside trader information, but he skated. He puts in a call to Eric Adams. Of course, Eric's going to take his call because Cohen gave him $1.25 million for his mayoral campaign. He said, Eric, I got to get my ball players on the field at Citi Field. We're right around the corner. So you know what Eric Adams did? He dissed and dismissed all the heroes, the firefighters, the cops, the healthcare workers, the sanitation workers who went out there as essential workers when the pandemic and the lockdown first took place in 2020. And then all of a sudden, the heroes, he made zeros because he fired them. And so naturally, he was asked, well, will you rehire them and give them back pay? He said, not bupkis, nothing. They get nothing. And this has outraged the city, which is now in the midst of a crime crisis worse than even de Blasio had. So this guy's too busy styling and profiling. He's photo op Eric Adams. Remember that song, Blinded by the Lights? Remember that classic song, Blinded by the Lights?
Who could forget?
Yeah, well, that's Eric Adams. He's out there, Ralph Lauren shows. He's out there cutting ribbons at night. He's a man.
Well, this is the crazy thing, Curtis. You're talking about this whole plot line here with the Mets owner, Stephen Cohen. Actually, Adams made the announcement about this at Met Stadium. I mean, you cannot make this up. It's 2 weeks before opening day, and he's doing this. I mean, how are the essential workers feeling about this? Because they're the ones who, during COVID, before there were vaccines, were the ones who put themselves on the line. And now, once again, they're getting a backseat.
Well, I was at Citi Field when he made the announcement. And just think, the workers there who have to be vaccinated, who serve you the dirty water hot dogs, the beer, sell you tickets. But the heroes of our city, the essential workers, close to 2,000 who have been fired, no chance to get another job, no unemployment. They're not even being considered to be rehired. And you would say to yourself, this is the classic quid pro quo. When you are the tool of the rich and the wealthy, as Eric Adams has always been, those are the people that you serve, not the heroes who saved us in our time of need and crawled into the belly of the beast when people were dying of COVID. And so you see, Eric Adams has proven to be what he's always been. He's a man associated with the Fortune 500, the hedge fund monsters, the crypto criminals out there. So you see what you got. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There's new bumper stickers out in New York City. Don't blame me. I voted for Sliwa.
That's right. Hey, it makes a lot of sense because another situation that would be very different if you were mayor is the crime situation. It's plaguing New Yorkers. Every single day you hear about a horrific crime in New York City. And it's funny because, people talk a lot about Joe Biden needing to take a cognitive test, but I think maybe Mayor Adams needs to take one. It was earlier this week that he talked to Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, of all people, for advice on how to tackle gun violence and the rampant subway crime. I mean, meanwhile, violence violent crime's up 34% in the Windy City, while in your city, in New York, just this week, a 9-year-old girl randomly attacked by a 27-year-old man near Central Park. A Long Island socialite randomly pushed and killed an elderly woman. And then most recently, gangs of teenagers storming pharmacies, stealing all types of prescription drugs. I mean, Curtis, just a few hours, the 3-year-old coming out of daycare with her father was shot in the shoulder. What's going on?
It's a loot out. It's a loot out. This city is basically, you can get your swag bag and you can go on a stealing spree. You can shoot. You don't get indicted. You don't end up doing any time. And Eric Adams has been rolled. But I'll tell you this, there's one man in New York City who knows how to get this done. You would think Eric Adams going to meet with Lightfoot in Chicago, the Washington, Miami, would sit down with Rudy Giuliani. The man brought New York City back from being the crime capital of America, the murder capital of America, to the biggest and safest city in America. You think maybe it's time just to sit down with Rudy now that all of a sudden Eric Adams is saying, well, maybe we'll have broken windows theory put into effect. During the campaign, because I supported that, he called me a racist. He's called Giuliani a racist. Well, maybe we're not racist. Maybe we're just pragmatic, common sense, public safety advocates, warriors in the streets and subways who know how to make New York City crime-free. And Eric Adams should sit down at a table with Rudy and discuss how Rudy brought this city back from the abyss. Because you know where Eric Adams is leading us? Into the abyss. Back to Fear City, back to the 70s and 80s. Who thought you could be worse than Bill de Blasio? In my worst nightmare, I never thought anybody could be worse than Bill de Blasio. But Eric Adams is.
Unfortunately, he is, and he was so promising to begin with. We thought he was going to be tough on crime, but here we are. Curtis Sliwa, it is always a pleasure. You tell it like it is. Thank you for your time tonight.
I'm back in the subway right now, back in the belly of the beast. Where's Eric Adams? At Club Zero with the TikTok girls and the Kardashians. Hey, Eric, you served us all wolf tickets. I'm going in the subway to fight crime.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do, Curtis. We'll see you soon.
Pleasure.